Drivers, start your engines!
This is MRN Motorsports Monday, presented by Outback Steakhouse and Hercules Tires. One full hour of news, interviews, and opinion about the past weekend's racing action.
Pace car is on.
Now here are your hosts, Woody Cain and Joey Meier.
Green flag, green flag.
Welcome to another edition of Motorsports Monday, presented by Outback Steakhouse and Hercules Tire. After the big weekend at Texas Motor Speedway, I'm Woody Cain, joined as always by two-spotter Joey Meier here as we look back at the weekend that was and the weekend that's coming, because it is a full bag on both counts.
So Kyle Busch shows up to do a doubleheader, wins both races. Wait, these are last week's notes from Martinsville.
That's okay, they still apply.
So he showed up again and dominated again.
Yeah, another broom.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Yes, it is.
A driver can win 80 races in one of the series, and I don't think it's appreciated. I wish I could be thrown back in time to when Richard Petty was winning, and they were running, 65 races a year, and he was winning, 60 of them a year for his 200 wins, just in the Cup Series. I'd like to know if people were as mad and upset then.
Well, we didn't have Twitter back then, so that gives people an avenue to hide behind it and spew some of that anger. But I'm thinking that they probably weren't as upset then.
But it's pretty impressive to watch a guy run different cars, different series, and dominate different drivers. Say what you want, man. It's impressive. It goes along the same. People booed Jeff Gordon. They booed Darrell Waltrip. They booed Jimmy Johnson, who, in my opinion, is still going to win more than 7 championships. I believe. I still say that. As long as nothing happens to him, Chad, they stay together. But to see what Kyle's doing, we have to remember, Kyle hasn't been with these crew chiefs that long. He's got new crew chiefs, new teams, there's a lot of newness.
But even the one he's got now, Adam Stevens, was with him in the Xfinity Series beforehand.
Right. So, but it's a different series. For him to be this good at this many tracks and this many series, it's an appreciation that I wish people would understand, that you're watching a dominance not because other guys aren't good.
Right.
This isn't watching Shaq at high school. This guy is just really good, and they put on a heck of a race Saturday night that we had on Friday night with the Xfinity race, Saturday night, the long night for those of you that were able to stay up and watch it. I really appreciate staying up that late.
Is that a little bit of foreshadowing there? Are you going to comment further on that later, or is that something we can look forward to?
Yeah, those late night races are fantastic.
Okay, yeah.
But it was pretty impressive.
It was indeed. Kyle Busch, as we mentioned, 80 Xfinity Series races now, and I read a stat that is 30 or 31 more than Mark Martin. And remember, it wasn't all that long ago that everybody was saying, wow, he's the king of the Xfinity Series, and nobody could do anything with him. And since that time, Kyle has got 30-plus more wins than him.
It's a whole season.
Yeah.
It's a whole season more.
Like if you win them all in a whole season.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's like I say, the thing that I'm a Kyle Busch fan from his talent. Do I like the way he handles some of the off-track stuff? No. But we could literally nitpick a bunch of drivers about what we don't like about him. But when he bolts the helmet on, he gets in a car, I don't care what series it is, it's just impressive to watch. And he continued it in Texas.
MRN didn't have the races, of course, this weekend. Our friends over at PRN had the races, so I was listening to, in the media center, some of the TV coverage. They had Carl Edwards as the analyst for the Xfinity Series on TV. And one of the things that he pointed out about Kyle Busch was, now that he's his teammate, he gets to see it more. But he said the amount of knowledge that he has, not just overall, but during a race weekend, is just unmatched. He said he can come back after a run and tell you what his car's doing wrong, what it needs a little more, what your car is doing wrong, what it needs, and what everybody else's car on the track is doing and what it needs a little bit more, just off the top of his head. And even a guy who's a peer, a teammate, racing with him every week was amazed by that.
Yeah, if it continues, again, his health, him being in the series, he'll have another championship here pretty soon.
He may indeed. After the Cup race at Texas Motor Speedway, here's what Kyle had to say.
Adam Stevens and all these guys, they come here well prepared to start with and had a good practice plan and everything, and we were able to set up our race car to my liking. And wasn't necessarily the fastest qualifier, but we knew we had a good race car, and the things that we did kind of worried me actually for about the first 2/3 of the race. Just not the track wasn't necessarily really coming to us, but then all of a sudden it took a shift and things did come to us, and we had a really good car there at the end. So Adam made some awesome adjustments all night long though, and kept us in the game and kept getting us better, and took us from probably being a 6th, 8th place car, something like that, to then being able to run up front in the top 3 and barring different tire circumstances or different restart circumstances at the end, giving us a shot to win. So hats off to those guys on the pit box and being able to get us here tonight with Interstate Batteries being in victory lane.
First of all, nice hat, and you've got a duplicate right here that was from the Xfinity series. They give the black ones in Xfinity and the white ones in Cup.
Exactly right. I've been very fortunate enough with Brad and the Team Penske guys, a couple of different crew chiefs, to win some hats in the Xfinity series. Kyle looks pretty dashing in that Cup
Dashing.
Yeah, it looks very dashing. Not very Western. I don't see. I don't see.
Well, Western doesn't go with a driver's suit necessarily.
Clinking around in his cowboy boots with his 6-shooters on, but
he did get the 6-shooters though. He fired them off in victory lane.
Yeah, I wish I'd looked that dork in that hat because I'd wear one
every day.
If I won, yes.
Yeah. Oh, well,
yes.
Yeah, if you win one, you earn the right, and who cares
absolutely.
at that point? But the other thing there that he was pointing out was early in that race, that car wasn't a winning car, as Kyle mentioned. You had the situation where he and Jimmy Johnson got together on pit road in kind of an accordion deal when they stacked up, and the car just wasn't performing very well then, but they kept working, kept moving up to the front, got it better. Carl Edwards may have been the only car who was similar to him speed-wise. They had a miscue on pit road. He had to battle back from a lap down and did pretty well with it, but late in the race, they got better, and here again, it's a situation where it's not how you start but how you finish. I thought a lot of people said the race wasn't that great. It wasn't that compelling. I saw a lot of sliding around back in the field. Tires mattered again. Strategy mattered again because what we saw in the first part of the race was Carl Edwards would jump out front, a big lead, and then slowly but surely Martin Truex Jr. would reel him in.
Yep.
And then the long run speed versus the short run speed was a strategy thing that we saw played out, and then it got jumbled up with the wrecking and a big wreck later on.
Yeah, we saw the low downforce package really, really large play a part in this race. One of the best quotes all weekend that I heard from one of the drivers off record was, "Man, we asked these cars to drive with a handful, just not this bad."
Not that much of a handful.
It was a lot of work for these guys to get up on the wheel and keep that car under them for the entire weekend. And for 334 laps under those cool temperatures, one of the things the track didn't do is take rubber and grip up a little bit like they wanted it to. And so that kept the crew chiefs very, very busy trying to get the car to stay under their driver, for the tires to grip up a little bit more as the track took rubber. The high lane never really came in, and a lot of guys kind of play off that. They expect the high lane to come in. It's easier to run the high lane with a larger sweeping radius of corners. You tend to keep the car under you a little bit better. You're not beating your rear tires up trying to drive off the corner. That never really played a handle. What that means is cars are running from the middle of the track on down, and they're harder to drive.
Yeah, and we didn't see the tire issues in terms of blowouts or cut tires or anything that we had seen at other tracks because of brake issues or putting too much heat in the tires. We did see a whole lot of fall off, however, and that may have been the undoing in the end of Martin Truex Jr., who stayed out when everyone else went in. Cole Perrin, as he corrected everyone on TV, Martin Truex Jr.'s crew chief said, well, we were in a situation where it didn't matter what we did. If we stayed out, everybody was coming. If we came in, they were going to stay out.
One of the things about running up front and not doing it a lot is you learn how to build your little bag of strategy tricks. And when you're running up front through strategy, then you got to keep playing strategy to stay up there. But when you're a good car and you can drive and pass people, Cole and Martin and them guys will put their bag of tricks together, and next time they won't care if somebody else doesn't pit. So they were looking for 5-3 2 years ago. You would stay out and be able to gain the advantage of the aero. Now the tires mattered. We had only gone 4 laps, I believe, on those older tires, and they stayed out. So their car was good enough that they were still used to the old mentality of we need to stay out front and get that clean air, and it's going to matter. Now we see on the low downforce, it doesn't pay the big dividends that we've seen in the past. If they were to do over again, it's easy to look an armchair quarterback, but the next time that their car is this dominant, they're going to come put tires on it, and Martin's going to drive back to the front like he had previously.
Absolutely, he will. By the way, we need to mention that Kevin Harvick did get a top 10 finish at Texas Motor Speedway. In fact, it was a 10th place run for him. You see it there on the board, the one in red at the bottom. So that means don't forget to race into Outback Steakhouse today for a free. That's free Bloomin' Onion because Kevin Harvick finished in the top 10. Outback Steakhouse done right. And they've got great lunch combo specials, $6.99 that they start off with there. You can mix and match your own along the way, and they're building one close to us. I can't wait because I hear that that Tony is going to go and buy us one every week once they open up close by.
Joey menu. Don't forget the Joey menu.
The Joey menu, the kids
Joey
menu. He thinks they named it after him, but he's mistaken. But at any rate, that's where we stand. All right, we've got a big show coming up for you on Motorsports Monday today. You can play along with us on Twitter at MRN Radio. Mine is at WY Cain. His is at 2Spotter. Use that hashtag AskMRN so we can find your question. But we'll take a quick break now. Come back. Elliott Sadler will be on the other side a little bit later. Slugger Labbe will be along with us. As we go to break here, though, let's give a listen to Chase Elliott, who had his career best Sprint Cup Series finish at Texas.
That was a solid night. Obviously, hate to have to start in the back, but I think having a good qualifying effort allowed us to get a good pit selection. I think that helped to try to gain spots throughout the night. But the biggest thing was just having a good car. It was I was really happy with it, especially on the long run. And we made some gains throughout the night to try to help our short run speed. I thought we did that. Definitely still have some work to do on my end, and we'll keep digging at it. And we're definitely not content. Well, we know we have some work to do, and we'd like to be contenders, so we're going to keep working at it.
This is MRN Motorsports Monday.
Does your heart race for great taste? For a limited time, get 20% off Creekstone Farms Premium St. Louis-style all-natural Duroc pork ribs. Choose between 4 or 8 fall-off-the-bone rack of ribs and get up to $30 in savings. Just place your order at creekstonefarms.com before April 30th using the promo code MRN20RIBS. That's MRN20RIBS. Enjoy the juiciest premium quality beef and pork products. Visit creekstonefarms.com today.
Ever wish your kid came with an instruction manual? I'm behavioral therapist James Lehman, and I'll show you how to change your child's behavior now with the Total Transformation, the program that helps stop defiance, backtalking, lying, acting out in school, even problems with ADD and ADHD. There's no screaming, no fighting, no frustration. Your child will listen to you again. I guarantee it.
Change your child's behavior now with the Total Transformation. Call now. 1-800-406-2945. 1-800-406-2945.
Ready to take the training wheels off your race scanner? Go to fanvision.com and upgrade your experience with FanVision. Not only will you be able to hear the race,
Dale Earnhardt Jr. gets a good run, drafting help from Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. Jr. again pulls up alongside for the race lead.
you'll see every moment through live video, instant replays, live stats, and more.
Hi, I'm Jamie McMurray, driver of the #1 Cessna Chevrolet, and I never go to the track without my FanVision. So go to fanvision.com to rent or buy yours today.
I'm Tyler Reddick, and you're listening to MRN Motorsports Monday with the infamous Joey Meier and Woody Cain.
Wow, you're infamous now? Is that what I'm understanding?
It's infamous is really it's really what it works out to be.
Whatever you want to call it. Let's talk a little Xfinity Series racing. The O'Reilly Auto Parts 300 on Friday night at Texas Motor Speedway. Kyle Busch won that one as well to sweep the weekend. But the man who had a strong run drives the One Main Financial Chevrolet for Junior Motorsports. Elliott Sadler joins us on the guest line now after a 7th-place run. But more importantly, that moves him to within 1 point of the series lead. Elliott, welcome to the program, man. Congratulations on a strong start to the season. Top 10s in every race.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. First of all, thanks for having me on. And second of all, man, this has been so much fun. The first part of the season I think we're the only driver regular that's had a top 10 in every single race. So that's good to start with. That's a good base to build, a good foundation. And, we're just plugging along each and every week and, looking forward to moving on to Bristol.
Elliott, good morning. Hope everything's going good off at Texas. I know it was late night on Saturday night for us. You guys got back on Friday. But 2016 was a fresh start for you over at Junior Motorsports and a new crew chief, Kevin Meandering. What's the relationship like 6 races into 2016 with you and Kevin?
Well, it's been great. We knew starting everything as new as we were starting. Kevin coming in, also brought a new engineer in as well as bringing in a new car chief. We had a lot of new pieces of the puzzle that we had to put in place. And, me being new to the company as a whole and new to the team, we knew communication was going to be a big part of it. And we felt like we've gotten better each and every week. Kind of throw Daytona out of it because that's a different animal. But we were okay at Atlanta, worked on some things, and then we moved on to Vegas and Phoenix and California. It seems like each and every race we've gone to, we've got a little bit stronger. We've got more of an understanding what we need to do moving forward. The new chase format has allowed us to try some different things and do some different things. We didn't feel like we didn't feel like we had to be rushed and be in a panic mode coming right at the box this year, being so new because of the new point system Xfinity had. We knew we were going to have time to grow, learn about each other, learn the communication. And you guys know, Joey especially, it's all about communicating between the driver and the crew chief and the team. And if you can get that going on the same page, good things can happen.
Talking with Elliott Sadler, who drove the One Main Financial Chevrolet to a 7th-place finish at Texas Motor Speedway on Friday night. Elliott, tell us a little more about riding at Texas, because everybody's saying those bumps are getting more and more pronounced. The track is getting more and more abrasive. There are a lot of variables you have to be concerned with there, right?
I do. I love it. I love that racetrack. I mean, it was great racing on both nights. Anytime you have tire fall off in a track like that, it's going to create really good racing, and the drivers are going to like it because you can move around. Puts the driving back in our hands a lot more at a place like that. You know, it's got a lot of character at that racetrack, which we love. It's not like any other mile and a half that we race at. We had a really good car Friday night. We just we had some adversity. We had a pit stop penalty. We had a tire get away from us 100 laps to go in the race, and then we had to go to the rear of the field and started to tail in the longest line and try to drive back through there. Then we had another tire kind of get away from us too, to lose some spots on the last stop. But like I told my guys on the radio, listen, let's work through this adversity. This is good to kind of have to go through these things beginning of the season. It's something we can learn from, we can build on, and we were able to battle back to a 7th-place finish. And coming from the rear of the field there at the end of the race, I felt was pretty good to pass that many cars with no caution help, to be honest with you. So we're going to build on it, learn from it. Texas is a track that's a part of our chase coming back, so we feel like we got some good notes for when we come back in the fall.
One of the things, it's tax season here in our country, and I do my taxes with the same guy for the last 15 years.
I thought you were going to say you did them yourself.
No,
boy, that'd be bad.
But one of the things that all your newness is that you had at Junior Motorsports, one of the things that you brought with you and you've had in your hip pocket, like my tax guy, you've had your spotter, Brett Griffin. When things are going wrong, you have him in your head. Is it nice to have that comforting voice and talk about that relationship you formed over the number of years with Brett Griffin?
Yeah, and I think that's the part that race fans don't see or race fans don't realize is, you know, Brett and I have been together for a long time, going on almost 20 years, and it's that voice of reason, that calm voice when things might be new and things might be getting out of hand or not going in the right direction. I understand where he's coming from. I'm very fortunate to have him as a spotter. He's got so much common sense and so much racing sense that not only is he helping me, he's also helping the bond between Kevin and I. As far as pit stops, when I say certain things on the radio, Brett can get on the channel 2 and tell Kevin, well, this is obviously what Elliott's thinking. You know, this is where we're getting beat at on the track. He's kind of the eye in the sky, not only for me, but also my team and also for Kevin. So have that much experience on the roof, not only involved in racing as a whole, but also with me. He has really shortened the learning curve a ton between Kevin and I, and really has helped us gel together a lot quicker. So Brett does an amazing job, especially on restrictor plate races. I mean, he's the main reason we're always up front and in contention when we go to Daytona and Talladega, and has definitely helped the learning curve a lot with me and this new race team, and it's been fun so far.
Elliott, we normally ask a lot of different Xfinity drivers about this concept because you see a lot of comment from fans about it. Kyle Busch wins again, 80 wins in the Xfinity Series. We got a little clip from his teammate that we played after the race from Eric Jones talking about it, about being frustrated, asked if he was frustrated at Kyle winning the races. So let's take a listen to that, and then we'll get you to comment on it.
Yeah, it is. You know, I was fortunate in a way last year. I didn't have to race against Kyle in the Xfinity Series at all. And now this year, obviously, he's back, and he's the man to beat and in old form again. So, you know, it's not frustrating. I wouldn't say that's the right word. I think it's, you know, I respect what he does, and I appreciate his ability. And I think it just makes us want it more, and it's really going to be gratifying the day we can do it. And I think we're looking forward to that day. I believe we can do it this year at some point. I thought this was going to be our night at a couple points in the race, but just didn't pan out. Yeah, it is. You know, I was
Jones says no, he's not frustrated.
Fortunate in a way last year. I didn't have to race against Kyle in the Xfinity Series.
About says we want those Cup guys in our series. Bring them on. How about you?
This is not even a topic of subject or anything for me at all. We need and want Cup drivers in the Xfinity Series. I think it's great for our sport. I think it's good for our sponsors. I think it's good for our TV partners that we have. I think it's good for TV ratings. Think of the family of four that cannot afford tickets on a Sunday to go see their favorite driver racing the Cup Series, so they can come on Saturday and watch their favorite Cup driver racing the Xfinity Series. They get to still see their favorite driver for half the price. And we have a lot of families that are like that in today's economy. So why not give them that opportunity? You know, I grew up in the days racing when I showed up at Richmond International Raceway, and it'd be 72 Busch cars entered in at the racetrack. And the first time I went there in 1995, I was parked between Dale Earnhardt's hauler and Darrell Waltrip's hauler. I was there on a flatbed. But I knew that's what you want to do when you first start. You want to race against these guys. Not only going to learn from them, but it's also going to make you better racing and seeing what they're doing and how they're maneuvering around traffic. There's so many positives to it. I don't understand why some of the media and some of the people that represent our sport and cover each week have to bring that up each and every week, like being a dead horse. But in my eyes, in my opinion, I've been doing this from a long side, and I'm putting my NASCAR hat on. It's great for the sport that those guys are involved in the series. I mean, Mark Martin used to dominate as well back in the 60 car for years, and you want to go out and you want to try to beat him and be a part of the race and part of winning. I mean, that's just the way racing is. That's how you do it. But from a TV side and a fan side, and people in the seats watching, we definitely need those guys a part of the race.
Now, first of all, I say thank you for agreeing, or I agree with you 100%, so I like that.
And we're still 100% on drivers with that question, too, right?
We are. We're batting 1,010. Yeah. We're actually batting over 1,000.
There you go.
Hey, so we've gotten top 10 finishes through our first 6 races. Qualifying has gone okay. I won't say, and I think you'd agree with me, a little bit improvement for qualifying is needed, but where do we need to finish better over at Junior Motorsports and all the teams? What are you looking for to gain starting at Bristol this coming week?
Did we lose him? Yeah, I think we may have lost Elliott Sadler.
Oh, that's okay then.
Well, but the point of the comment there is every single driver that we've asked so far has said, yeah, we want to race against those guys. We'll talk a little bit more about this in On Track, Off Track, but every driver says, yes, bring them on. Primarily, it's coming from fans who don't like the concept.
It simply comes from a person when you compete in anything, whatever it is you want to do, you want to beat the best. And right now, Kyle Busch, whatever series he runs in, you're beating the best. Brad Keselowski said it last year when Kyle was hurt in the Cup car. When you win a Cup race, you want him in that race to put in that mantle to say this trophy was won while Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, the greats of the sport were in it. It has more value to it. So when you're competing at the level, Elliott Sadler and Junior Motorsports are sitting in the top 10 in finishes. They're second in points. They're competing at that level against those other teammates, the Daniel Suarez's and Eric Jones, that are simply a part of the same team that Kyle Busch is.
There you go. And it's a situation where we haven't heard one single driver mention the fact that, no, they're kind of stealing our thunder. We don't like that too much.
Yeah, no, and then from a sponsorship standpoint, if the sponsors didn't want to be a part of it, they wouldn't be.
Yeah.
But they're wanting to be a part of it. The Interstate Batteries group was in Texas for that Xfinity race. They enjoy it. It's a mark that later on we will learn to appreciate after he's gone, unfortunately. That's just the way that our nature is. We don't like somebody coming in and stealing all of our thunder from one person. I think if we had a group of fans and then we were able to interview them, they would say they want one driver to win every race, a different driver, unless it was Dale Jr., and then we want him to win everything.
Right.
And that's the way it's going to go.
Right, and I think we've seen that played out repeatedly over the past couple of seasons.
Yes.
Okay, meanwhile, you were about to ask Elliott Sadler about Bristol coming up. It'll be the first opportunity for the Dash for Cash from the Xfinity Series, and they'll have heats in which odd number qualifiers will be in one, even number qualifiers will be in the other, 50 lappers in both. You can't work on your car after your heat. You can only work on it while it's going, and if you crash, you can't go to a backup car because that counts as the total. It's 300 laps, but then they'll have 50 lap for each of those heats, so it counts toward the total, almost as if what we used to have in the Truck Series with the old halfway break.
The really cool thing is it started with Nationwide wanting to spend extra money to honor the people in their series when they do well. So Xfinity has continued the Dash for Cash program and allows the Xfinity-only drivers to participate. And like you said, it'll be really cool to see the two different heats, not called heat races. They're called heats, which I have no idea what the difference is. But it'll allow the odd number qualifiers, the even number qualifiers to get wins, And the cool thing is, if you win 2 heats over a period of the 4 races, that qualifies you into the year-long chase. So that'll be a really cool program. Not only do you win Bristol for this weekend, but if you're a Dash for Cash winner, then you get extra money and extra incentive to move along.
Yeah, and we're going to have a feature on NASCAR Live Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time about the Dash for Cash, the heats and all that. We asked a bunch of drivers and crew chiefs to give us their opinion on how they think that might play out. And strategy-wise, it's interesting because some guys who might not necessarily be what you would consider contenders for a race win might be able to get one of these or 2 of these heats and turn that into a bid for the chase.
Whatever it takes, it's one of those things right now. We struggle, and I'll give you an example, in the 22 Xfinity car a little bit with Brian Wilson and really a whole new crew over there. We're not so concerned because we get to compete in the Owners' Championship of the Chase. Normally at this portion of the year, the Kyle Busch and the Joe Gibbs Racing has such a large lead as in the previous years, we'd be really nervous and trying to catch up. We don't have to worry about that. If we can get a win, it automatically gets us in that Owners' Championship chase. The same thing goes for the drivers. Anything you can do to work on your car, and like we heard Elliott Sadler, it allows them to play around with setups and do a little testing in the first part of the year, because all you're doing is setting yourselves up. Like a long race we've talked about a number of years, you have to play a part of that strategy. They're strategizing their car for the last 7-segment race for the chase, and we see it playing out right now.
All right, we got to take another time out here on Motorsports Monday. On the other side of the break, Slugger Labbe will join us. He's Austin Dillon's crew chief. They had a good race going until late on Saturday night at Texas. We'll talk with him about that. But as we go out, we asked Kyle Busch about getting into these Xfinity Series races and how that might be helping him in the Cup side.
Yeah, I learned a few things. I always do, but this tire is a little bit different than the Cup tire, but really close, and just kind of learned how it challenged the car and me throughout the run. From the beginning side of the run to the middle to the end, the car was kind of moving around and what lanes to move into in order to get some good speed and things like that. So I never really ventured too high to run like the wall. But I did find some ways and some techniques to get my car going around the middle part of the racetrack.
This is MRN Motorsports Monday.
In the Outback, we think the best part about racing is the noise, the engine, the pits, and a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. Especially a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. That's because if Kevin Happy Harvick, driver of the number 4 Chevrolet, places in the top 10 in today's race, there's free bloomin' onions this Monday. So you'll have a happy bloomin' Monday. Only at Outback Steakhouse. Valid with any purchase. 1 per table. Participation may vary. Registered trademarks used with permission.
Business is a lot like racing. It takes a strong team of pros to succeed. That's why Freightliner Trucks created TeamRunSmart.com, a free online community that connects owner-operators with the trucking industry's A-team. The Team Run Smart pros and coaches help maximize your profitability with real-world advice on everything from fuel-efficient speccing to healthy eating to filing taxes. Sign up today to earn rewards and connect with fellow truckers at TeamRunSmart.com.
Don't miss the first ever Country 500, the Great American Music Fest at Daytona International Speedway, Memorial Day weekend. Join Luke Bryan, Jason Aldean, Kid Rock, Lady Antebellum, Florida Georgia Line, Willie Nelson, and many more for 3 awesome days and nights of music, camping, and more on the infield of the World Center of Racing. Visit country500.com for more information.
I'm Rico Abreu, and you're listening to MRN Motorsports Monday with Joey Meier and Woody Cain.
How about Rico? A strong run at Martinsville in the trucks, huh?
Yeah, he's shown, again, when you have talent and you're given the opportunity, it shows. And Rico's doing exactly that in his first ever truck series start at Martinsville. He did really good.
Yeah, speaking of talent and opportunity, a couple guys taking advantage of that are over at Richard Childress Racing right now. Austin Dillon is 10th in the standings, had a great run going on Saturday night at Texas before getting swept up in a big wreck, one of the biggest ones we've seen at Texas Motor Speedway. His crew chief, Slugger Labbe, joins us now, the crew chief on the Dow Chevrolet at Richard Childress Racing, the number 3 car. Slugger, welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, guys. How you guys doing?
Well, good, but I was going to ask you the same thing, and I think if maybe we could have ended the race 40 laps earlier, you'd give me a different answer. But, man, have you ever seen such a wreck at Texas?
Pretty spectacular for sure. I know we had both corners, actually all 4 corners beat in and both doors beat in, so there wasn't many areas of the race car we had to work on when Austin hit pit road. Yeah, it's just part of it. It's it's a decision that I made to stay out with 3 laps on our tires, and who would have thought that it'd be at such a big disadvantage, and obviously it was. So just a bad decision on my part, kind of an aggressive call, and it just didn't work out. So kind of take the good with the bad and the bad with the good and move on.
Yeah, but I'm going to give you a little bit of credit here, because the reason you made that decision based on the 7th race of the season is simply the fact that you guys have been running good. It wasn't like you were swinging for the fences with 2 laps to go in the season. You guys over at the 3-car and the entire RCR team have been really picking up your performance this year. So don't cut yourself so short. You made that decision because your car had been running really good throughout the night so far.
Well, thanks, Joey. Yeah, our strong suit was the long run, and we wouldn't fire off really good at the start of the race or restart. So it was the decision, I guess our tires are too low on air pressure or something. It doesn't fire off good. So we figured, with 3 laps on our tires, that we would be able to hold ourselves for a couple laps anyway. But we didn't even make a corner really and got wrecked. So it's part of it. But the speed definitely has picked up at RCR, and especially with the Dow Chevrolet with Austin. It's just unfortunately we've had some adversity that we couldn't overcome. At California we're running 8th on the last stop and come out 28th with a broken jack, and it's just things like that that are hard to recover from. And obviously Saturday night, getting in a wreck, we couldn't. We're lucky to finish 19th like we did. So it's just one of those things, but definitely putting some points up on the board, and that's a good thing to be doing this time of year.
Slugger, what do you think is making the difference for you guys this year? Because as Joey mentioned, your performance has gone way up. Is there one thing you can point to and say, we're better here, that's making you better overall?
Well, as far as the 3 team, because that's what I control. I know mostly about that team is, it's a new package. This low downforce package and soft tire was a new game for everybody. So over the winter, we worked really hard on understanding what it would take to make our race cars better and to get the balance right. And so far this year, the Dow Chevrolet team has been fast at every track. It's short track or intermediate or fast intermediate. We've had good speed, so I'm very proud of that. But to me, a lot of the credit goes to Austin and his ability to listen, take criticism, be it good or bad, and go out on the racetrack and work on it in practice and get better. So, Austin spends a lot of time with his driver coach going over all the data that we have, and he's really become a good student of the game.
You see, it's his 3rd full year of Sprint Cup racing, but he started in 2011. Do you still see the learning curve he's experiencing, or is he now more of a veteran driver that understands more? Where does he stand in the amount of knowledge he has?
He's definitely getting better for sure. He's cleaning up all his mistakes, the rookie mistakes and the sophomore slump mistakes that you make. But I think anyone's going to make mistakes every day. Obviously I made one at the end of the race, made a bad decision, but and I was quick to beat myself up for it, and I still do today. But Austin's been really good at, if he does make a mistake, if you get after him, which at times I do, because I think if you don't get after them, they'll have a tendency to do it again. So we work it out immediately and understand the rights and the wrongs and move forward from that. So I guess all the drivers that I've had in my career, they'll tell you that they've had to have pretty thick skin with me, because I understand whenever you throw the green flag, that's the only chance you're going to have to race that week is that particular race. So if something bad happens or something good happens, I think everyone needs to know about it so we can improve on it and never happens again. So I'm pretty open and honest with them, and there's times that's been really good, and at times it's kind of ruffled his feathers a little bit, but he understands where I'm getting at.
Chatting with Slugger Labbe, the crew chief on the number 3 Dow Chevrolet from Richard Childress Racing, and Austin Dillon, the driver there. Slugger, one of the coolest things I saw all weekend long were some pictures of you and your son. You had a new crew member out there this weekend, and that had to be a great experience for you.
Yeah, he's home from college right now, and we're just trying to keep him busy, and he wanted to come and understand, kind of what Dad's been doing all his life, and he gets I think he got a total different aspect of what my job entitles and how much work and effort I put into it. But I think the thing he realized the most was when we got home at 6 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning, that at 11 o'clock when I woke him up and asked him to go have dinner or lunch, and he didn't want to go. He said he wanted to sleep more. So I think he understands that, this luxury life that he thinks that Dad always leads, you pay the price for it for sure. But he slept all damn day, and I had to get up and do stuff around the house, mow the grass, and he was laying in bed. It wasn't right. But no, I just say family is what's most important, and for him able to come and hang out with us and just be a part of it was pretty cool. I wish we'd have went to Victor Lane with him, but there'll be another day hopefully.
Yeah, one of the unique things you just mentioned is about family, and Austin has his brother Ty in the series running competing against him, which is kind of a unique opportunity we don't see a lot in any sport. Do you see any sibling rivalry with those two when they're racing the same series?
Oh, for sure. You see it on Saturday in the Xfinity races for sure, but when the Cup races come around, obviously they want to be the top Dylan for sure, and definitely. We just had our driver debrief meeting, and it was neat to listen to both them talk at different times, but they both have the same driving styles, which is kind of unique to me.
Slugger, now we get ready to head to Bristol, Saturday night racing at Texas, and we go day racing on Sunday at Bristol Motor Speedway. What can we look for there? Because that track has changed significantly over the years in terms of the grooves you have to run and what you're looking for on a particular race.
It sure has, and the thing that's good for us is going back to Bristol. I believe that it's the same tire we had there last year, which is something we haven't had much this year other than Martinsville. So it'll be good to look back at our notes on what we've done. But this race last year at Bristol, Austin was running ninth with just a couple laps to go when he ran out of gas, unfortunately. But he runs really good at Bristol. Looking forward to that. He's running the Xfinity race as well, so he'll have plenty of seat time. But man, Bristol is one of those races. Joey, as a spotter being up there, you always expect the unexpected because you could be leading the race, and next thing you know, you're wrecked. There's no safe place at Bristol. Anything can happen at any time, and that's what makes it so fun to go race there and watch as a race fan.
As we finish up with Slugger Labbe, we have people on the show that have nicknames, and we always give you the opportunity to explain your Richard Slugger Labbe nickname. Where'd it come from?
Well, I've had a feeling you were going to ask that question, Joey. But actually, the day I was born, this is kind of quirky, but the day I was born, my grandmother gave me a pair of pajamas and it said Little Slugger and had the baseball on it. And from that day, my name has been Slugger. So a lot of people don't really associate me with to a pair of pajamas, but that's really what happened.
Well, that's fantastic. I don't know what we could say to top that, so why don't we leave it right there?
Just
Slugger,
don't tell nobody.
No, too late now. Oh, man, we really appreciate your time, and congratulations on the start you guys have had of the season. Looks like things are really moving in the right direction for you.
Thanks, and take care of my buddy Joey for me, please.
Oh, you bet I will.
Appreciate it, Slug.
Thanks, man.
Thanks. See you, bye.
There you go, Slugger Labbe, crew chief on the number 3 Dow Chevrolet at Richard Childress Racing. And I always love talking to Slugger because he doesn't give you much in the way of jargon or engineering type talk. He talks like a normal person, if you can say it that way.
Okay, so he's one of those guys in the garage that he has people now working on the 3 car that used to work with him over at DEI on the 15 car, and they've won championship in races and stuff. So he's one of those crew guys that you like to go work for. And because Austin, he mentioned how he jumps on Austin. I've been yelled at by Slugger Labbe before.
Oh, yeah?
Yes,
What'd you do?
But it was a spotting incident at Indy. But it was a matter of he had to tell me a better way of doing it. I had to listen to him and not get carried away with being upset. I had to listen to what he was saying, and we've moved on, and you can see we're still friends. So that's what Slugger gives you. You never have to guess what you've done wrong or done right. He's willing to tell you and pat you on the back when you've done good. He's willing to yell at you and critique you when you've done bad, and you continually grow with him as a season. He's been associated with so many race teams throughout the year. We started together in early 2000s.
Yeah, I know you like this word, so I'm going to use it again. There was a little bit of a kerfuffle earlier this season when he and Austin kind of got into it on the radio. I forget what race it was, but earlier this season. And afterwards, Austin said, nope, we're good. That's just, we get that way because we're so intense and we want to win. And at the time, you would have thought the world was ending because people were like, oh, they hate each other. And that's not the case at all, as Slugger explained.
Yeah, we've always talked about this as a NASCAR. NASCAR is a family sport and all these different analogies. But when you're at the track, I'm gone myself, okay, and I don't do a lot of testing now, but I'm gone over 220 days a year. I'm at the track or at work. That's over 2/3 essentially of every year, which means I'm with my guys on the road more than I am my wife. You better have a good working relationship.
Well, you're
with
trying
these guys.
to ruin everything by your little remote control device you got there, flipping the lights on and off on her when she's at home.
I got a really cool Wi-Fi light at the house that I control. I can turn on.
You're going to go back and find all your stuff out in the yard one of these days.
But my point is
I get you.
You have to have that relationship. And if I'm going to yell at you and you're going to yell at me, we understand I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling to you to try to get a point across. And Slugger's really good with that. He's worked with a number of young drivers throughout the year. He's had some series veterans as well. My point is he's worked well with every driver he's had. He's been successful. with every series, every team. And now he shows it now with Austin Dillon and RCR.
All right, another time out here on Motorsports Monday. On Track, Off Track is coming up next. That's where Joey and I talk about some things we think are going well in the sport and some things that maybe aren't going quite so well. Plus, we got some Twitter questions of yours we'll answer as well. We'll do all that next on Motorsports Monday. Stay right there.
This is MRN Motorsports Monday.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there, whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, right on our strength.
In the Outback, we think the best part about racing is the noise, the engine, the pits, and a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. Especially a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. That's because if Kevin Happy Harvick, driver of the number 4 Chevrolet, places in the top 10 in today's race, there's free bloomin' onions this Monday. So you'll have a happy bloomin' Monday. Only at Outback Steakhouse. Valid with any purchase. One per table. Participation may vary. Registered trademarks used with permission.
Hey, it's me, Kansas Speedway. And, I'm sorry. Sorry for the barehanded slap of adrenaline and the burnt rubber aftertaste. Sorry other tailgates will seem lame. Yeah, real sorry about that.
It's the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series GoBowling.com 400. Saturday night, May 7th, Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah. Sorry, Mom.
Tickets at KansasSpeedway.com.
You're welcome.
Hi, this is Brian Scott, and you're listening to MRN Motorsports Monday with Joey Meier and Woody Cain.
Speaking of Brian Scott, I had a chance to go to a cool event this past weekend. It was in Arlington. GoBowling.com is going to be the sponsor at Kansas Speedway. Yep. They're also on the 44 car there with Brian Scott. So they're having an event to announce it, and I had no idea this place existed. The International Bowling Hall of Fame and Museum, right? So this is where they make the announcement. Here comes the King in. Here comes Brian Scott in. They do their announcement. They take us back into the museum, and Richard Petty, I had no idea, was an avid bowler. They had some of his old stuff. He has his own bowling ball, some of his old bowling shoes, his bag, and all that. So they get around to the back where they have these old school lanes, right? And not the automatic kind that set the pins, with a guy back there who sets the pins up, and he was dressed in costume and all that stuff. So the King pulls a bag out, and it's got a custom bowling ball in it with a tire inside of it. He goes down, rolls, and leaves 2 pins, picks up the spare with no warm-up at all, and he's just grinning like, what, doesn't everybody do this every day?
He won 200 racing.
Yes, he did.
He's like the John Wayne of NASCAR.
It was fantastic. I mean, seeing him bowl like that, I mean, he didn't even have bowling shoes on, and he picked up the spare with no warm-up. It was great. Good. Anyway, folks, we need your help because we want to ask you to give us a little bit of your opinion, and in exchange, you have a chance to win a Google Chromecast. In an effort to give you the kind of web programming that you want, we're asking that if you take a quick online survey at www.mylistenerstudy.com. The survey is completely anonymous, and it'll help us give you more of what you like. So don't forget, enter the contest. Maybe you'll get a Google Chromecast. That's mylistenerstudy.com. We really appreciate your feedback, and good luck. And as Joey says, if it's free, it can't be bad.
Its Chromecasts are cool. I mean, Google's.
You got one?
I don't have a Chromecast, but I have a Google style phone that I love. Anything that Google. I'm a Google and Android guy, so that's I like that the platform, the operating software of a Droid or the Google Chromecast mentality.
All right, there we go. Let's do a little bit of on-track, off-track action right now where we talk about some things we think are going well and some things that we think maybe aren't going quite so well. Let's start with you. What do you got for on-track?
You know, our entire industry is based on sponsors, being able to support our sponsors, and it's just a big circle of the sponsors give us money and we try to respond. We're cool that we have a Hercules tire. This little guy here is our Hercules tire. They're a sponsor of our show. We like to be able to go and get our tires here at Hercules Tire. One of the interesting things at NASCAR they've done this year is remove all of the driver souvenir trailers that we had for a number of years, and they've given us the Fanatics tent. It gives
Wait a
us
minute, wasn't that supposed to be the end of the world?
Fortunately, we haven't heard a lot of negativity about it because the system is really working very well. When the weather's inclement, whether it's hot or cold, they have these tents that you can go around to. It has offered opportunities for teams like the Wood Brothers, as we were talking earlier with our producer Robbie. He's saying that the Wood Brothers wouldn't have their own trailer. With the Fanatics tent, they have the ability to have the little side store that they normally wouldn't have. It's given fans more of an opportunity to get more of a sponsor-driven sport in return and allow you to walk around and touch and feel and try on. And I believe, from what I'm being told, that the souvenir sales have gone up with the Fanatics tent, and that means fans are simply having more opportunity to get the stuff they want while they're at the track. Kudos to Fanatics and the tent, because, again, a year or 2 years ago when they got rid of those trailers, the world was going to come to an end, and I haven't seen the ending yet.
It's still going on.
It's still going on.
Right. One-stop shopping. I think that part of it is cool, and as you mentioned, they can kind of go indoors, fans can. Even if it's raining, like we saw a shower on Saturday at Texas Motor Speedway, you can kind of go indoors, get out of the weather, check out some merchandise. It's a really cool atmosphere for all those involved. I don't know what the numbers are, but just as a consumer, I think it'd be something that would be really cool. All right, for me, on track, how can you go anywhere else? It's Kyle Busch. The guy is doing things that we haven't seen in years. 4 straight races at NASCAR's top national touring division. You go back to Martinsville with the truck race and the cup race. Then you come to Texas Motor Speedway with the Xfinity race and the cup race. The guy is en fuego right now. And I think I saw a stat where since he came back from the injury, 31 races, I think, since he came back, and he's won like 7 of them now, and he's finished in the top 10 like 22 of those races. The guy is absolutely on fire, top of his game.
Was that Spanish?
What, En Fuego? Yeah, you like that one? Yeah. I saved that one just for you as well.
Yeah, no,
I got some more.
We talked earlier. He's simply dominating a sport, and I wish the fans could appreciate the level of competition that they're being able to watch, and they're not, because they're angry and the animosity they have towards him. But like the black hat, we have this black hat here. Every series needs a villain, and right now Kyle Busch is the villain. But whether you're a villain or a good guy, they still know your name.
Do you think there's a tendency among all people, not just in racing or any sport, to not really appreciate the history as you're experiencing it, but as you look back, you kind of say, wow, that was pretty cool?
Well, I think you're experiencing it, but it's not your guy.
Yeah.
In other words, the most popular driver in the sport, if he was doing it, they'd be cool. The sport would be the greatest ever. But because the most popular driver isn't the guy that's doing all this stuff, and it's the villain, it's the guy that he gets booed almost as much as my guy does, I think. Him and his brother both have been booed over the period of their careers. I think if it were just simply a different driver, you'd see a different philosophy. But it doesn't take away, it doesn't tarnish what he's doing, because we are going to appreciate this one day.
Yeah, I really do think that once we look back on this in hindsight, people will say, man, that was a pretty cool time to be experiencing NASCAR. All right, this is something that Joey and I have argued about, fans have argued about, but I'm approaching it from a little different perspective. My off-track is the Xfinity Series, not the sponsor, because they're fantastic. They're doing great things. We just talked about the Dash for Cash and how they're spicing that up. Here's my issue is there's got to be a way, and I'm not blaming the Cup guys for being in it, but when we look at the race on Friday night at Texas Motor Speedway, at one point there were 6 of the top 7 or 7 out of the top 8 were Cup guys with 100 laps to go. It stayed that way. Cup drivers have won every single Xfinity Series race so far. I don't think it's their fault. It's the Cup guys' fault. I don't think they should be banned from the series or anything like that. I just think that overall it might not be the best thing for the series for guys who aren't regulars in that series to be winning all the races. I know that'll change when we get to the point where there are some standalone events a little bit later on. But remember a few years ago, 2 years ago actually, when Chase Elliott won the championship in the Xfinity Series, at that time nationwide. He was winning races with the Cup regulars in there just as much as they are now. That's my point. I think some of the regulars in the Cup, in the Xfinity Series, need to step up their game a little bit. I saw a little bit of a comment from Dale Earnhardt Jr. where he feels like they're right there. They're really close. They're about to turn the corner. We had Elliott Sadler on from Junior Motorsports earlier. He's second in the series now, 1 point behind Daniel Suarez. I think somehow, some way, the rest of the field needs to step their game up and get to that level. You can talk about resources, and Joe Gibbs Racing certainly has them, but so does Junior Motorsports. So do some of these other big organizations. I think they need to find a way to get a little better, find a way to assert themselves a little more, because as we heard Elliott Sadler say, and every driver that we've asked, they want Cup guys in that series.
Yeah, I become speechless in the subject, because I think if the problem was real and not just perceived, the series the sponsors, the drivers would self-rectify it. If I'm sponsoring a non-Cup driver team and I was unhappy, I wouldn't sponsor it. If the series, back when they're doing their checks and balances on Monday, saw a definitive problem, they would fix it. If the track operators said there's a problem, they would rectify it.
Well, the track operators want the Cup guys because it helps them sell tickets. That's the same thing that Elliott told us too.
Last week, one of your off-track and off-tracks was about perceived versus reality. This is simply a perceived problem, not a real problem.
Well, it is real that no Xfinity guys that want to race this year. It's all Cup guys.
But it's not a problem. That's just a fact. That's just a reality. It's not a problem unless there's a problem. There's not a problem. It's just a fact. That's what I'm saying. It's not. If it was a problem, we would be trying to rectify the situation. It's just a reality. If Dale Jr. had won Texas,
well,
he would have just won Texas.
I agree.
We wouldn't have talked about it.
I agree that there's one guy who draws most of the ire. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, but we have drivers that finished. The Ryan Siegs, the Brandon Jones. Those guys are in a sport that are competing against these Cup guys. They're looking at their race as being, we did a really good job. We have guys in points. We have the Ryan Reeds, the Brennan Pools, the Darrell Wallaces that are at the top 10 in points. They're competing with teams that are associated with Cup guys. So it's just a matter of, if you want to do better in the series, you got to do better. That's all there is to it. If you're not competing at a level that is able to compete against Joe Gibbs Racing, then you as a company, that's where the problem is.
Well, there are some teams that don't have near that amount of resources, but you look at some of them, there are some top-notch teams and organizations in there. We mentioned Junior Motorsports earlier. They are certainly a well-funded team and have the resources they need to compete. My point of this is I wish we were at a point, not back in time, but where we were a couple of years ago, where some of the regular Xfinity teams were challenging for race wins on a more regular basis. I don't think it's a problem of anything other than these teams right now are a little bit behind what the JGR cars are doing, and they need to catch up.
We are only 6 races into the season. We did have a not completely new rules package, but really we're riding around on shock stops or bump stops, if you will. That technology does take a little bit to get going. And again, we've seen, teams that are not – we had 2 teams that are not associated – well, Ryan Sieg definitely has no affiliation with a Cup team. Brandon Jones is a rookie, so even if he was with a Cup team, it's irrelevant because he's a rookie.
He's having a really good year, by the way.
He's having a really good year. So the teams that need to perform better, that's the problem, and this series is simply exposing that.
That's my point. That's where I'm trying to get at. Right.
Then I want to agree with you, I guess.
I know. What? What? That never happens.
Mark this down. Write this down.
It finally happened, folks, and you were here to witness it.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to some Twitter questions because a lot of folks want to weigh in on this subject as well. Gail Delaney says, do you think it might be counterproductive at some point with Cup drivers as no one is watching on the Xfinity side?
Again, if it was a problem, when we say nobody's watching, I don't know what that means because the company that produces the TV ratings of Fox Sports 1, they're ecstatic because their TV ratings for Fox Sports 1 are higher every week, every year. They see a build. Now, the total number of people are a little bit lower because they simply don't have Fox Sports 1. But as the network is growing, they like the series. They enjoy it, and they're getting better numbers, and that's the bottom line.
All right, Zach Copeland wants to know, has Kyle Busch's Xfinity dominance taken some of the splendor away from that series having a chase this season?
No.
All right, all right, there you go, short and sweet. There you go. Let's see, we've got another one here from Briar Star, one of our regulars. Would people act differently about their favorite Cup driver winning in Xfinity races and have a different opinion on Cup drivers racing in the series since their driver would be winning them all besides Kyle Busch?
150%. If Kyle Busch was a well-liked driver, and I really don't know why he's not well-liked. I don't. I get the fact that he gets angry and things of that nature, but if Kyle Busch was well-liked, this whole perceived problem of Cup guys in the Xfinity, it would disappear. It would just be gone.
It would. It absolutely would go away. And one more about the new TV screen at Bristol. Will that affect your view from the spotter stand? Because they've got the cables now instead of the stand.
It's above our sight line. We've seen pictures of it already. It's above our sight line. will actually help our visibility because we no longer have the big column that blocked our visibility going into 3. There were cars on pit road 2 car widths deep that we couldn't see because of that column. It's actually going to help us and give us better visibility, better information. I can't wait to go there and see that big monster TV.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And for fans who aren't aware, they're doing that primarily because they're going to be having football games at Bristol Motor Speedway, and they don't want to have to take that out every single time they have a football game. So now it's going to be suspended by giant cables and hanging over the track rather than on a post in the middle of the infield. All right, one more break here on Motorsports Monday. We're going to look ahead to what we might expect at Bristol coming up a little bit later on in the program, and a lot more is still ahead. Stick around, folks.
This is MRN Motorsports Monday.
Ready to take the training wheels off your race scanner? Go to fanvision.com and upgrade your experience with FanVision. Not only will you be able to hear the race,
Dale Earnhardt Jr. gets a good run, drafting help from Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. Jr. again pulls up alongside for the race lead.
you'll see every moment through live video, instant replays, live stats, and more.
Hi, I'm Jamie McMurray, driver of the #1 Cessna Chevrolet, and I never go to the track without my FanVision. So go to fanvision.com to rent or buy yours today.
In the Outback, we think the best part about racing is the noise, the engine, the pits, and a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. Especially a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. That's because if Kevin Happy Harvick, driver of the #4 Chevrolet, places in the top 10 in today's race, there's free bloomin' onions this Monday. So you'll have a happy bloomin' Monday. Only at Outback Steakhouse. Valid with any purchase. 1 per table. Participation may vary. Registered trademarks used with permission.
Need to sell your used vocational and highway equipment, regardless of type and condition? Then Housby is your single source to manage all aspects of the sales process. We can sell your equipment immediately during one of our twice-monthly auctions, either from where it sits or from one of our nationwide sales locations. You make the choice. Housby has buyers who are looking for what you have to sell and will pay you 10 days after the sale, period. Nothing to sell but looking to buy? Check out what we have today at housby.com.
Hi, this is Martin Truex Jr. You're listening to MRN Motorsports Monday with Joey Meier, #2, and Woody Cain. He would always call me #1, so I call him #2. You want to do a real one now?
That was a real one. You're #2.
Yeah.
There you go. Listen, I got so stunned by Joey actually agreeing with me in our on-track, off-track that I forgot to get to his off-track. So what do you got?
I grew up Saturday night racing, love Saturday night racing, but simply because we cover such a large sport and over many, many time zones, when we change time zones out of the East Coast and we go to a Central Mountain Pacific, the late night starts for Saturday night, we're asking our East Coast viewers to stay up well past midnight for a 4-hour race. 334 laps at Texas should not be started at 6:30 on a Saturday night local time.
That's an hour earlier than the Xfinity race, but not enough based on the number of laps.
Yeah, and then to add that, we had the 2-hour delay. I get we can't have delays, but simply put, if a race starts at 7:30 Eastern time and it's going to go for 4 hours, you're asking your East Coast audience for a lot of time on the attention for a Saturday night race.
I could be mistaken, but I heard that part of the reason they do the time that they do at Texas is to not go up against the Masters.
I heard the Saturday night deal, yes.
Yeah.
But I think we could start earlier. We
I
have plenty
agree.
of time.
I agree.
But that race at Texas could easily be, and then we have the dealing with the daylight to night like we do at the Charlotte race.
Which is cool.
Adding a little intrigue, exactly. So that's my only thing. I wish we had a different schedule for those late Saturday night starts for the East Coast guys. We don't need to be finishing up 11:30, 12 o'clock at night.
All right, I'll tell you what. Since you agreed with me, I'm going to agree with you to make it even. Now we're all squared
Write
away.
this
How
down.
about that?
Check this.
All right, that's a bow on Texas. Let's move forward. Bristol Motor Speedway, you mentioned you'll have a better sight line for the spotting based on the new cables.
Yeah.
What about Bristol in general?
Bristol's so cool because the engineers ground the top groove at both ends so we couldn't run up there, and we showed them. Now we run up there on purpose, and we go faster.
Yeah.
So everything the engineers did with their slide rules and calculators to take speed away from the cars up top to make them run the bottom, we're going to go up top and we're going to run there. It's super fast, very hard to pass. If you can get out front, it takes a really good car to get somebody by you. Guys are digging off the bottom, and they get loose and they slam up into people. You talk about big wrecks. All it takes is one car to wreck, and normally there's 10 or 12 of them piled into it. Spotting there is extremely fun. I relate it to a speedway race on a very small track.
Are you drained after you get done with a race at Bristol mentally?
No, not really. I don't get mentally drained from spotting, because as you can tell, I don't think a lot when I talk. So it's really easy for me to say just blah, blah, blah. And I just speak what I'm saying and what I'm seeing. And I don't spend a lot of energy in what I do. So
you get mentally drained talking to me?
It's just mentally draining being with you.
So we got that going for us. All right, we've got Saturday and Sunday racing at Bristol Motor Speedway. Don't forget, folks, NASCAR Live, 7 o'clock Eastern time here on Motor Racing Network as well. We'll get into more of the Dash for Cash things then. Every single Monday when we have the races, you can hear them right after our show on Motor Racing Network, but that's not the case this week. Anyway, stick with us. Be back with us next Monday. I'm Woody. He's Joey. We'll see you next week right here on MRN Motorsports Monday.
You've been listening to MRN Motorsports Monday, presented by Outback Steakhouse and Hercules Tires. Tune in again next Monday at noon for all the latest news, results, and interviews from NASCAR on MotorRacingNetwork.com. MRN Motorsports Monday is also available on demand at the MotorRacingNetwork.com Media Center or download it from iTunes or Stitcher. MRN Motorsports Monday is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.